Gravel crunched under black tires. Four SUVs cut through the mist, headlights sharp against the wire fences of Fort Stewart. Inside the guard shack, a lone soldier, faded fatigues, calm gray-blue eyes stood waiting. No insignia, no medals, just another name on the roster. But when the convoy stopped, the Navy SEAL commander stepped out. He scanned the yard once, then fixed his gaze on her, and his first words shattered the silence. "Good. I'm glad you're the one guarding this place." From that second, the ordinary post wasn't ordinary anymore. Before we dive into this story, where are you watching from? Let us know in the comments. Welcome to Grateful Stories, where tales of compassion and kindness are told. Let's uncover what really happened. Under the gray morning haze of Fort Stewart, Georgia. The clock ticked to 09:32. Four black SUVs rolled toward the ammunition yard gate, tires crunching gravel in perfect unison. The base looked ordinary, but the convoy carried a weight that pressed against the silence. Inside the guard shack, Staff Sergeant Riley Keene adjusted her grip on the clipboard. Her fatigues were faded, boots dull with Georgia dust. She looked like a soldier placed on routine detail. Nothing to catch the eye. The first SUV stopped short of the checkpoint. The driver's door swung open. A man stepped out, controlled, efficient, his presence enough to change the air. "Commander Grant Ellison, SEAL Team 5, he said. His voice was steady, unforced. "We're here for ordnance retrieval. Authorization AR-529C. Riley scanned the documents. QR code matched. Digital signature verified. No hesitation in her movements. She pressed the gate release. Ellison paused before stepping through. His eyes met hers, sharp and quick. "Good. I'm glad you're the one guarding this place." The line landed heavy, though his tone was simple. Riley gave nothing away, just a nod. The SEALs deployed fast. Doors opened, boots hit gravel, weapons slung across shoulders. They spread with professional spacing, scanning the perimeter with silent gestures. No wasted motion. They moved directly toward bunker C-12, unlocking it with practiced ease. A voice cut across the yard like a whip. Keen Major Brent Hollister strode forward, chest puffed under a crisp uniform. His boots shone like glass. Sweat already crept down his temples, though the air was cool. He closed the distance in sharp strides, jaw tight with indignation. "Why wasn't Base Ops notified?" he demanded. "Special operations don't just wander into my depot." Riley kept her face neutral. "Papers were in order." "Sir, authorization cleared." "You're a guard." Hollister snapped. "You don't make operational calls. You call me." Commander Ellison stepped between them, voice calm but edged with finality. Her security check was flawless. "Authorization is valid." Procedures followed. He lifted a tablet, showing the digital orders glowing on the screen. Hollister's nostrils flared, his authority bruised. "Keene, I expect a complete report on my desk by 13:30. Every detail." He leaned closer, lowering his voice with mock sympathy. "Next time, let the grown-ups make decisions." He pivoted sharply and stalked away, muttering about proper channels. His polished boots kicked up fine dust. Riley turned back to her console. Her eyes slid across the inventory log. Codes AR-530D and AR-531E glowed against the screen. Unusual munitions, not standard rotation. Their presence here meant something bigger than routine. Ellison caught her pause. For a moment, his gaze softened, reading more than she revealed. From his pocket, he pulled a plain, white card, only a number. He pressed it into her palm with a quiet murmur. "Call if you need, by noon." The SUVs were loaded. 3 sealed composite crates strapped down with precision, checked twice, then checked again. The SEALs moved as though each object could crack the earth if mishandled. Riley logged the departure time, fingers steady on the keyboard. The convoy rolled out, and with it, the quiet of the yard returned. Only the hum of cicadas filled the silence. Hours later, in Colonel Janice Rowe's office, the quiet was gone. 2 strangers in dark suits sat across the desk. Staff Sergeant Keene, The woman introduced herself crisply. Agent Nora Pike, Defense Criminal Investigative Service. This is Agent Leon Draper, FBI Counterintelligence. Riley stood at attention. Ma'am, sir. Draper tapped his tablet, turning the screen toward her. Satellite images appeared. Dugway Proving Ground, Utah. Concrete barriers scorched black. Impact craters spread in ugly circles. 3 days ago, Pike explained, 16 hostile drones struck this facility. The attack nearly broke through. She swiped to the next image, defensive lines still holding. Sandbags collapsed but intact. The ordnance pulled from Fort Stewart yesterday morning was rushed here. Without it, Dugway would have fallen. Riley studied the photos. The angles of fire, the perimeter adjustments. Her mind mapped the fight even without being there. But Draper continued, his tone flat. The attackers knew the exact transport window. They knew when that ordnance would be most vulnerable. Colonel Rowe folded her hands. Inside leak. Only 2 people at Fort Stewart had the timing. Major Hollister and you. The office went quiet. The ceiling fan ticked above. Riley placed the plain card on Rowe's desk. The white rectangle looked harmless, but the weight behind it was not. My name isn't Riley Keene, she said evenly. It's Captain Avery Lamont, former 10th Mountain Division intelligence officer, reduced in rank and reassigned under a new identity after I testified against Colonel Mason Pride's falsified reports. Pike's eyes flickered, surprise masked quickly by professional calm. Draper scrolled furiously on his tablet, verifying sealed records flagged beyond his clearance. Rowe leaned back, face unreadable, and now Avery's voice did not waver. Now I'm ready to go under again. If Black Crest Risk Solutions is buying classified intelligence, I'll bring back their network. Not one man, the whole machine. The agents exchanged glances. Pike nodded once. Draper closed his tablet. Rowe gave a thin smile. Then it seems the right person was guarding that gate after all. Avery slid the card back into her pocket. The decision was already made. The first move had been played. The rest of the board waited. The Buckhead Hotel bar hummed low with muted jazz. The light was warm, but the booth in the corner sat in shadow. Captain Avery Lamont, wearing the name Riley Keene again, waited with her hands steady on a glass of water. 2 figures arrived on time. Victor Raines slid into the seat first, his suit dark, his smile rehearsed. Beside him, Sloan Kettering followed with measured calm, every movement quiet but commanding. 15,000 per package. Raines opened, routine reports, no questions asked. His tone was casual, as if the price of betrayal could be rattled off like a grocery list. Avery raised an eyebrow. 15 buys silence. But you want access? Real access. That costs more. You're talking about keys that open doors while looking like normal office badges. Sloan studied her face for a moment. You understand more than most? Show me. She turned her tablet, displaying a simple diagram, 2 boxes, and a side channel between them. It's like a spare key hidden in the lock. Avery explained coolly. You walk into the front room as usual. The copy slips into the side room. Unseen. Raines nodded. Pleased. Exactly. That's our method. Nothing noisy. Just a shadow next to every real movement. He leaned back, folding his hands. We want that spare key installed on your depot's network. A patch. FTW Delta 72. You'll run it once. After that, we do the lifting. 200,000 on delivery. 50,000 monthly for your cooperation. The number hung in the air like bait on a hook. Avery didn't flinch. And proof you can cover me if something smells wrong. Sloan's eyes sharpened. That's why we test. Tonight, you'll push a maintenance window. 2340 to 2355. Just a scheduling change. But it tells us if you're for real. Avery set her glass down without a sound. You'll have it. She returned to her room, the city lights of Atlanta glittering outside the window. Phone in hand, she called the secure line. Test inbound. She told Agent Nora Pike, "I need a honeypot." Within minutes, Draper patched through a decoy route, metadata traps. Every address that touched it would be logged. Blackcrest thought they were checking access. Instead, they were painting their own fingerprints. Night deepened. Avery slipped from the hotel into the garage. A shadow moved across the rows of parked cars. Evan Cho, one of Blackcrest's technicians, kept a steady distance, his phone angled like a mirror. She walked, then slowed, then turned down a side exit. Cho adjusted. The chase was obvious now. At the Marta Lennox station, Avery descended the escalator. Crowds blurred. She stepped into a shop, shed her jacket, pulled a cap low. Cho scanned the platform, confused. When he looked left, she was already gone. By the time she re-entered the hotel through a different door, her laptop glowed. The log scrolled fast addresses traced back to V-Edge 03, a Blackcrest node. Pike's voice crackled in her ear. Pleased. They bit. Hard. The next night, Rains returned, looking satisfied, clean, no alarms. "You might be the kind we've been looking for." Sloan leaned forward. "Let me show you something." She swiped on her tablet. Photos appeared: convoy fuel stops, reload times, rest points. Each detail looked harmless alone. Together, they mapped the pattern of SEAL Team 5's movement across 3 states. "Not everything requires classified files," she said. "We watch logistics, fuel, rations, flight hours, stitch enough scraps together. You get the whole picture." Avery kept her expression flat. Efficient, inside. Her pulse ticked higher. Even without breaching secure networks, they could anticipate movements deadly accurate. Sloan's voice softened. "One of our prior contacts was Major Brent Hollister. 4 payments, $17,800 each, through Red Harbor Consulting." The name sliced the air. Avery didn't react. She nodded. Just once. Later, in her hotel room, she stared at new images on her own screen. Dugway Proving Ground. Burned drones scattered like twisted birds. Sandbags torn open. Dirt blackened. A helmet lay on its side, half buried in soot. Her hand closed into a fist. The only words she allowed herself whispered out. "Not again." The next meeting came without small talk. Rains slid a drive across the table. "FTSTW Delta 72. You know where it goes. Install, and you'll see the first transfer in 72 hours. Payments waiting." Avery turned the device in her hand as if weighing more than plastic. "Fine. It gets installed. But when it runs, I'll need confirmation the trail point's nowhere near me." "That's our specialty," Sloan answered. "You worry about pressing execute. We worry about the noise." Back at Fort Stewart, Avery moved with the precision of habit. Pike and Draper stood by on encrypted channels, already embedding their own recording module. The patch would appear to run, but its every move would be mirrored to a sinkhole server. The trap was layered. Blackcrest would believe they had slipped their spare key inside. In truth, every knock on the hidden door would echo straight into federal hands. Avery logged off, tucked the drive away, and stepped out into the night air. 72 hours. That was the countdown. The first attempt at theft would come then, and when it did, the entire Blackcrest network would light up. The city was still buzzing outside the wire, neon casting long reflections on wet pavement. Avery adjusted her collar, walking past the guard post as if nothing had changed, but her pulse told her otherwise. The board was set, the game had begun, and she was already moving her next piece. The IT room at Fort Stewart was silent except for the low hum of cooling fans. Avery, under the badge of Riley Keene, logged in with steady fingers. Midnight air pressed against the windows, heavy and still. She slid the patch drive into place. FTSTW Delta 72 launched without protest. The monitor showed routine maintenance. Beneath the surface, the honeypot waited. Lines of code streamed quietly. Data packets moved like shadows through an unlocked door. Pike's voice cut into her earpiece. soft but electric. We have them. VA Core Hub, TX Relay 02, CA Mirror 01. They're live. The trap worked. Blackcrest had entered the fake room, convinced they were invisible. Every move now mirrored into federal logs. Avery noted the time 0207. Boots sounded outside the door. Too early. Too precise. Her body tensed. The handle turned. Commander Ellison stepped in without warning. Hollister followed, flanked by 2 military police. His voice carried false authority. Late night work? Sergeant, or something more interesting? The MP stood wide, eyes sharp. Hollister wanted a spectacle. He wanted to catch her dirty. Avery didn't flinch. She tapped out of the honeypot, slid into the warehouse inventory app. On screen, crates tallied, reports printed, numbers dull and harmless. Ellison walked closer, his expression unreadable. He leaned just enough to whisper, Captain Lamont, it's 0210. Don't lift your hands from that keyboard. His words were quiet, meant only for her. Relief didn't show on her face. The signal was clear. He knew everything. He was protecting her cover. Hollister circled like a hawk, searching for evidence. He found nothing. His jaw twitched, frustration leaking through the cracks. Clean, he muttered, waving the MPs back. Ellison gave Avery one last look before leaving. Silent, steady. Hollister stomped out behind him, rage masked as formality. By dawn, Draper had evidence stacked across Colonel Rowe's desk. Bank records glowed on the screen. 4 payments of $17,800 traced through Red Harbor Consulting. Hollister's phone location pinged late nights in Savannah. Meetings with a known Blackcrest operative. Rowe signed the arrest order, but when the MPs reached his quarters, they found nothing. Drawers emptied, closets bare. Security footage from Savannah Airport showed him moving fast through the terminal. A boarding scan at 0405. Destination Denver. Hollister had slipped the net. The hunt escalated, but Avery's mission pulled tighter. Blackcrest called again. This time, Sloan Kettering herself delivered the invitation. Tyson's Corner. You'll see how the system really works, she said. Her tone carried the weight of a test and a reward. 2 nights later, Avery entered the Blackcrest compound. Glass walls gleamed, but beneath them lay steel bones. The 4th floor corridor buzzed with quiet machines. Security doors blinked red before turning green. The room inside was stark white. Bulletproof windows, signal dampening walls. No decoration, no wasted space. Screens lined the walls, alive with flowing maps. Sloan gestured broadly. We don't steal files. We stitch. Fuel receipts, shift rosters, transport manifests, small fragments from ordinary places. Together, they build the full picture of troop movement. She swiped her tablet. On screen, timelines appeared, each thread harmless alone. Then the threads converged, forming a pattern of convoys, flights, and deployments. Avery let her eyes narrow, feigning cold appraisal. Impressive, but inefficient. Too many screens, too many hands. If you want speed, give me a single dashboard, everything in one place. Raines smirked, amused. She's bold. Sloan hesitated, then tapped a code. The central screen blinked. A new interface opened, sleek, dark, precise. Blackcrest Nexus, she said. Our crown jewel. Data poured in. 8 nodes lit up simultaneously. Virginia Hub, Texas Relay, California Mirror, plus others stretching across the map. Each pulsed with live feeds. Avery's pulse held steady. The evidence was right here. Pike and Draper only needed confirmation that Nexus existed. Her phone vibrated once in her pocket, a secure channel. Pike's clipped voice whispered through the earpiece. This is it. Enough to prosecute. But we want everything. Stand by. Sloan's attention shifted. She toggled to a new tab. Client lists, company logos, shell entities, 2 foreign buyers hidden under American covers. Several private military contractors with familiar names. The weight of it pressed in. This wasn't fragments anymore. It was betrayal spelled out on the screen. Ellison's encrypted message hit her device, the text stark in white. 0544, no knock. Hold position. The countdown had begun. Avery stayed still in the sterile room, Sloan watching her carefully from behind. Rains leaned in, pride glowing. On the screen, Blackcrest Nexus pulsed with stolen veins of information. Each node a wound, each client a knife waiting to strike. The evidence was live, undeniable. And soon, every door in this building would be kicked in at once. Avery breathed slow, her posture calm. Inside, she was a spring wound tight. The hour was nearly here. The trap was closing, and she was standing at the center. 05:44 a.m. The synchronized strike began. In Tyson's Corner, Virginia. The Blackcrest Tower shook with the force of a battering ram. Glass rattled, alarms shrieked, and agents poured through the doors in layered waves. On the fourth floor, the sterile white room filled with the thud of boots, Sloan Kettering froze mid-step, her calm veneer cracking as see. Marshals locked her arms behind her back. The operations director of Blackcrest was no longer giving orders. She was a detainee in chains. Victor Rains spun toward the glowing console. The Nexus dashboard still pulsed, alive with stolen data. Red and blue strobes bled across the glass walls, painting his face ghostly pale. When he turned to protest, Avery had already stepped back from the keyboard, hands raised in controlled calm. "Step away," an FBI agent barked. Rains obeyed, shoulders collapsing, the arrogance gone from his frame. His empire crumbled in real time, his lifeline glowing in confiscated servers. Evidence fell into sealed bags, Nexus itself, mirrored onto federal drives. Transaction sheets, logs, the trail of 4 payments, each exactly $17, $800 funneled through Red Harbor Consulting to Major Hollister. Every scrap of betrayal cataloged, tagged, preserved. Across the country, doors burst open in unison. In Dallas, a warehouse disguised as a logistics hub was raided. Racks of servers yanked offline. San Diego saw a penthouse office stripped of its shell company plaques. Tampa's suburban safe house fell in minutes, its operators dragged out in undershirts and bare feet. In Raleigh, Huntsville, Columbus, and Phoenix, similar scenes unfolded. 8 states, 41 people in custody. The web of Blackcrest collapsed node by node, each safe house collapsing like a lung punctured. Far out in Utah, Dugway Proving Grounds engineers lifted a steel crate marked Toolkit. The device that had stitched fragments into fatal pictures was now sealed shut. Evidence of a war fought in silence. Soldiers carried it into an armored truck as the desert wind swept black ash from drone wreckage still lying in the sand. Back in Virginia, Avery remained composed. She had stepped away from the keyboard, half a pace back, the glow of Nexus washing her profile. To her right, Victor Rains stared at the lights outside, realization draining the last of his defiance. The building smelled of ozone and dust from shattered doors. The Blackcrest brand was finished, its leaders cuffed, its secrets confiscated. Yet one ghost still lingered. Major Hollister had slipped the cordon hours earlier. His trail cut west, through Denver, his car a dark speck against the long spine of I-70. He pushed through mountain passes with the desperation of a man who understood the walls were closing. In Silverthorne, Colorado, the road narrowed. State patrol cruisers blocked the lanes, lights flaring in the pre-dawn gloom. FBI SUVs pinned him from behind. Hollister slowed, then stopped. For a moment, he sat gripping the wheel, breath heavy, sweat dripping down his neck. But the fight never came. He opened the door, stepped out into the cold alpine air, and lifted his hands. No words, no gun drawn, just a man undone by his own choices. The cuffs clicked, final and cold, at Fort Stewart. Colonel Janice Rowe signed a folder in her office. Her pen scratched across the page, restoring a name that had been buried. Captain Avery Lamont. The false records tied to prize retaliation were gone, dissolved by official ink. The folder slid across the desk to Avery. Rowe's expression was measured, but her voice was certain. Your service is intact. Your record is clean. Welcome back, Captain. The cover identity of Riley Keene was finished. The burden lifted quietly, like a weight pulled off her chest. Later that afternoon, Commander Ellison arrived at the depot. No press, no ceremony. He stepped into the yard, the smell of steel and oil heavy in the air. At the checkpoint, he extended his hand. If you ever want to work with people who measure by results, he said, steady and direct, my door is open. Avery shook his hand once, firm but brief. I still have work here, she answered. It was enough. The Georgia sun climbed over the horizon. Grass along the fence glistened with dew, bending under the pale light. The air carried the metallic chill of morning, sharp and grounding. Avery's uniform bore her true name again. Lamont stitched clear on her chest plate. Riley Keene was gone, retired with the cover story that had protected her. Inside the guard shack, the logbook waited. She sat, uncapped the pen, and wrote in careful letters. Ammunition yard all secure. 612. The words lay simple on the page, yet they carried the weight of everything that had happened. The network dismantled, the traitor captured, the record restored. Beyond the chain link fence, the bunkers stood silent, unchanged, concrete and warning signs, the same as they had always been. But something deeper had shifted. The camera of memory pulled back. The iron gate stood where the story had begun, steady now in the soft light of dawn. Order, fragile but restored, held across the yard. No headlines would tell the full story. No soldiers on base would know the depth of what had been risked, and that was how it should remain. Captain Avery Lamont closed the logbook, leaned back in the chair, and listened to the quiet hum of morning. The depot was secure. The country slept, never knowing how close the blade had come, and that was enough.